And good morning, this is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor. I tell you, I got up this morning and I went to my X application on my phone and I began scrolling through all of the news and reported corruption that I'm seeing in this government, from judges to DAs to members of Congress to the presidency to his son. It just goes on and on. Then we see the Palestinian thing, and we see UCLA students again going into protests, and the police. I'm very proud of the police that moved them out and got them gone again. But we're seeing all of this negative activities. We see, I saw one Palestinian in UK, in London, saying, death is the beginning of life for them. Death is the beginning of life for them. So we begin looking at everything, what's going on. And if you see, especially I'm going to talk about the Palestinian at the moment, is that when you see Palestinians saying death, death is the beginning of their life, how will you ever have peace with a Palestinian? Then I saw another Palestinian mother just shouting for joy because her children had been killed and she thinks they're martyrs. How can you have peace with this type of hateful, disgusting mentality? And now we see that same hate being spread onto campuses of the United States. You see people yelling it in the streets as they're marching through. You see them protesting as they're blocking the traffic on freeways, yelling how proud they are of Palestine and all this. When you have individuals who are so hateful, how can you ever have peace? That's the biggest question that I have in my mind. I don't want to have it in my mind, but once I see these images, how can you ever wonder how can there be peace? And then we see that more bombs were sent out from Palestine yesterday and surrounding countries onto Israel. And you wonder, how can there ever be peace with this kind of mindset? Either they have been brainwashed so severely, and that Islam and the hateful part of Islam has taken over their minds, that you have to ask yourself, how can there be peace with a people who think that death is the beginning of their life? That just amazes me. And I want to think that there must be some Palestinians that want peace. They want to. There are Palestinians living in Israel at the moment that are very peaceful. They hold government jobs. They're doing all kinds of different things, and they love living in Israel. There's a lot of Arabs that are living in Israel, and they're doing very well. But we have this one strip of land in the Middle East that has so much hate in it that not even other countries. I saw the border wall between Gaza and Egypt. That border wall has row after row after row and layer after layer after layer of these razor wire that no one could ever get into. No one would even want to, because it'd be all cut up. But their border wall, because they want to keep Gazans, they want to keep Palestinians out of Egypt, and I can understand why. No country wants to take in these people because they are so hateful and so dangerous. So that is the problem. If you want to have peace in the Middle East, you have got to remove Hamas, because Hamas generates that hate. And there are other fractions of the Islamic regime that's inside of Palestine too that is just festering this hate mentality. So how can you ever think there's going to be peace if you see this constantly on the news? You see it in the UK, you see it in Brussels, you see it in Germany, you see it in the United States on campuses by Americans that are pro-Palestine. I tell you, that just boggles my mind. Every time I think about it, it just boggles my mind. And then we see in the United States, I'm changing politics at the moment, but we see in the United States where there were literally people stuffing the ballot. 3 people in Connecticut today got arrested and charged and are going to serve time now for harvesting ballots. You've got it in Georgia, where they have now shown that there are ballots missing. You've got it probably in Arizona too, but no one wants to say or admit that there was a problem. And there was a problem. The other issue is, we are coming up for a vote in November. How safe is my vote? That's my biggest concern at the moment. How safe is my vote? How do I know that when I vote, that my vote isn't going someplace else? How do I know that if I'm on travel and I have to mail in my vote, is my mail-in vote even being counted, or is it being discarded? Because you see all of these ballots being thrown and finding them in garbage cans and dumps and everything. So you have to ask the question, how safe is my vote going to be in November? It's just a disgusting mess that we are in at the moment, because we have a government that is not protecting the rights of the American people. We have a judicial system that is corrupt to the bone. We have judges who are making rulings that they should not be making. So we're in trouble. But luckily for all of us, we've got people that truly believe in the Constitution. And if you look at those people who are calling about the rule of law, or everybody is everybody is subject to the rule of law, and that if they're guilty, and all this stuff. But the problem is that a lot of these people are not guilty, but they're being prosecuted and they're being put in jail, and their lives are being destroyed. We see it happening time and time again. So if we have this going on, and then we have Nancy Pelosi. Yesterday, we see this tape that's coming out, and she was admitting that the safety for the Capitol was her responsibility, but she did nothing about it. Nothing. And yet she blames it on Trump. Everybody blames it on Trump for that. But in actuality, it was her responsibility. If you're Speaker of the House, you are responsible for the Capitol. That's the way it goes. If you see something that's going to happen, you call in the National Guard, but she didn't do it. If you see something happening, you call in more police to be able to control the situation, but it didn't happen. Signs were taken off the lawns that they're not supposed to be trespassing. Somebody came along and took them and stole them all, and people walked and were encouraged to go towards the Capitol. I mean, you see all this happening and you wonder what in the world is happening with our government. But luckily, and I'll start this again, because every time I say something, something else pops into my mind of what I'm seeing and hearing and reading about. Is that we have individuals out there who believe in the Constitution of the United States. That Constitution is the foundation of the rule of law. Unfortunately, we have politicians that are trying to destroy that rule of law that is bound by the Constitution of the United States. But luckily, we have people out there trying to defend it. You and I should be defending the Constitution, enforcing that the courts and the district attorneys and everybody else in Congress should be enforcing and should be subject to the rule of law that is under the Constitution. And if we allow politicians and judges and district attorneys and all these other individuals who are anti-Constitution, anti-justice in the rule of law, then we have a problem. And those are the individuals we should be getting rid of. When we go to vote, we need to vote against individuals who constantly say democracy, democracy, but then goes against the Constitution. And you see it every single day when people stand up in Congress and they're trying to push their political agenda that has nothing to do with the Constitution. It appears that politics, political agendas override the Constitution. And you and I, we have got to stop that because it cannot happen. Otherwise, we have chaos in the United States. And that's what we're seeing at the moment. We're seeing chaos. Chaos on the streets, chaos in the judges, chaos in the district attorney's offices, the chaos in Congress of individuals who are trying to bypass the rule of law, bypass the Constitution, just so that they can get back at their political enemies and so that they can get back at the American people who they seem to loathe at the moment. So you and I, we have got to uphold the Constitution. We have got to enforce the Constitution on these political powers that are out there. We can no longer sit back and say, oh, I'll just do my life. No. We have got to speak up, and we've got to let people know that are in power of this country that the Constitution is the Bible of this United States. For us to get a fair trial, we have got to be fundamentally strong in the Constitution, in the rule of law. I tell you, I don't even like watching the news anymore. I mean, I tried to do it once in the morning, but this morning it just truly got to me because I would flip the next page and it'd be the same stuff. Flip the next page and I'll see chaos. Flip the next stage and I see kids beating each other up in school. Flip the page and I see people demonstrating on the streets and throwing tear gas and breaking windows and robbing. Flip the page and you see people still trying to rob these stores. And I flip the page and I see Nancy Pelosi saying that she was responsible for the security of the Capitol and she didn't do it. And then I flip the page and I see Hunter Biden being convicted of gun charges. And you flip the page and flip the page and flip the page, and it's nothing but news of corruption. That's all that it is. Corruption of the law, corruption of religion, corruption of what else comes along. My mind is absolutely fried at the moment because of what I've seen this morning, just page after page on Twitter, or X I should say, and it going on and on. It's just amazing. So I'm going to leave politics for a little bit. Now, let's talk about the economy, okay? On average, American savings in the past years, Americans have saved about 8% of their income. And they've saved it. They put it into the bank. During the pandemic, that number skyrocketed up to 30%. Today, at this very moment in time, Americans are only saving about 3%. That's a big difference. From 8 to 30, down to 3. It's at the lowest, the second lowest time it's ever been in the United States. Now, what the scuttlebutt on the Wall Street floor this morning is, because they were all talking about this, is that the economy is going to slow down even more. Now, that is not very good news for us. The problem is that inflation has kept the prices up so that Americans can no longer afford. I tell you, I was so pissed off the other day. On Sunday, I decided I needed to go and buy some chicken because I wanted to eat some chicken. And so I wanted to get breast of chicken. Went into the store, over to the chicken department. $25 for 4 small pieces of chicken breast. $25. Do you know how that hurt me greatly as a consumer and as an American, as an American who wants to eat, to have to pay $25 for chicken. It's absolutely. And then I saw the numbers on beef, and that was even more. So how in the world are Americans surviving during this economy? Well, they're surviving because they have drained everything from their bank accounts. They have increased their credit card debt. The debt is at the highest it's ever been in the history of this nation. So we got savings depleted. We've got debt increased. How in the world do you ever expect us to have a sound economy if we are going to have this thing going on? And then we have President Biden, who is forgiving billions of dollars of student debt. Billions of dollars of student debt. So, I'm going to put my foot out there and say, we all have got to do something about our finances because we can no longer survive the way it's going. I'm getting tired of tuna fish sandwiches. I would really like to have a nice piece of chicken, a nice piece of steak. But I can't even, in California, you can't even go out and buy food anymore that's reasonably cost. In-N-Out. I love In-N-Out. In-N-Out, I could go in and get a hamburger and pay about $4.85, $5, okay? And now it's up to $10. If you go to McDonald's, it's $18 for a hamburger. So how in the world can I even say, I can't even justify going out to eat anymore. I can't justify it because it's just too expensive. I can't even justify buying chicken anymore because it's just too expensive. I heard a joke the other day because they were talking about the price of eggs. And the joke was, do you know why hens are no longer laying eggs? Because they identify as roosters. Which might be true. But that was the joke. I tell you, I really want to help California. In fact, that's why I moved back to California. I said, I can do some good here. I think I can do some good. I can't do any good if I can't afford to be here. I can't do any good if the political strength of liberalism and socialism is so strong. I just don't know how I can do any good. I thought I would come here and work with small businesses, but let me tell you, small businesses in Southern California or in California as a whole are hurting. They don't have the money to spend. They're trying to survive. And every single day, Newsom in the state legislature creates another new law. Another new law that they're going to they're running through a test is charging Americans, or Californians, I should say, so much, I think it's 34 cents per mile they're going to charge on taxes. So they're going to install these devices in your system. And where does that lead to? Once they put that into the system, let's say you don't pay your taxes, what do? Shut down your car? I don't know. No one knows the answer. But that's how, if you have this type of mentality, where the government wants more and more control over your lives, I no longer have an ability to help small businesses here because, I just see it going in the wrong direction for this state, under this leadership, under this governor. And no one stands up to do anything about it. Goodness. So I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. Can you believe it? I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I woke up by picking up my device to see what's happening in the world, and it really bummed me out. It frustrated me. It pissed me off. And now you have to listen to it. So I'm sorry about that. But we'll come to a time in this nation where you and I have got to stand up and take back what we've given away too freely. You've got to stand up and take back our freedoms, our Constitution. Get rid of these individuals in government who have been there too long, who have made millions and millions of dollars off their job, while the rest of America is suffering. And I know you guys are suffering. I hear from you every single day when you send me emails and you send me notices to my blog and to my podcast. I listen to you every single day, and I know that you are suffering. I hear it. Because I can feel it also. But we can take back control as long as our vote is safe in November. We can take back control and we can get rid of these people who are running for office. When you live in a one-party state like California, you really see how once a party becomes powerful, then the loonies of that party begin to take control, and they can do so much damage. The one state that needs to really think about their vote this November is California, because they have allowed these individuals to return to the state legislatures, to return to the governor's office, return to county commissions, return to city mayorships and council people that have been there way too long, and they're really politically unjust. They're politically stupid. And they bring in and they create these new laws and rules that hinder the process of business, that hinder the loving places of church, that hinders the teaching in our schools. We have got to be able to vote these individuals out. We need to pay attention clearly to our votes this November. It's probably the most important time in this nation to vote, because too much damage has been done. And now we have to correct the damage. So that's my podcast for today. I'm sorry I got up on the wrong side of the bed. But sometimes I guess you just have to get a good kick in the butt to say, okay, I've got to do something. We've got to do something. This is Mike Lodge, and this is The Business Advisor. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.